basically, this this woman managed to trick like half of England that she was giving birth to baby bunnies, including King George the First. Yay! We've got the whole crew here. And I'm actually back to doing history, so this is fun. And yeah, it's like real history. It's not like true crime and all that stuff, which I'm into too, but I like doing some of the weird history stuff because this is where you get into the bonkers stuff. Like I'm talking about right now, this woman birthing bunnies. I wasn't going to drink tonight because I had like a little bit too much fun the last time that we streamed, but it's already been a week, so I am drinking White Claw. Classic mango, it's my go-to. I always said I was going to drink wine or do something classy when I do this, but I never have wine anymore, and I'm not that classy. Yeah, exactly, Sarah. We are birthing rabbits today. We're going to get into the whole spiel of birthing rabbits and how this all went down. So I'm going to... let me click this. Got my classy free Canva. There we go. So let's set the scene here. This is our girl Mary. You see her right here. Classy lady. I was cracking up when I found this picture because I put the little rabbit in her lap. I'm like, come on, little. All right, whatever. So this is our picture or portrait of Mary, the rabbit lady. So this is all the way back in 1726, and so Mary Toft is a resident of Surrey. So this is 1700s England. Yeah, oh my God, Adam, talk about rabbit holes. Oh my God, how did I not make that pun myself? What a pathetic excuse for a comedian I am. Yeah, 1726 was a great year for rabbits, apparently. Actually not, because this gets weird. So, sadly, so she's 25. She's a servant. She's married to Joshua. She has, a hubby. And he's a clothier. I don't know, he makes clothes, sells clothes, he does stuff with clothes. So, sadly, she did have a miscarriage in August of 1726. But after she had that miscarriage, she still seemed to be pregnant. And then, like a month later, on September 27th, she apparently started going into labor. 1726, what an interesting year we've got going on. So, again, she went into labor, and she was initially being, like, treated by her neighbor, Mary Gill, good old Mary, helping out Mary. So, her mother-in-law at that point stepped in, Ann Toft, and at this point, she apparently gave birth to something that looked kind of like a cat. So, obviously, people were, like, freaking out, because that's not what we all signed up for. So they call in a real doctor, and they call in John Howard. Poor guy gets looped into this whole thing. He visited the very next day after the call, and they were like just handing him animal parts, I guess, that they said she had birthed during the night. And the following day he came back and then helped deliver even more animal parts. So they just keep coming out. And over the next month, he wrote down that she began producing like more, just like a rabbit's head, legs of a cat, and in a single day, 9 baby rabbits. They were all sadly dead. Yeah, this is a morbid one. I feel like it's weirdly silly and morbid at the same time, because it's like sad when we're talking about all these little animals, but it's so bizarre. Like, I feel like I can't help but just like laugh. I did not see any bare hands. But yeah, a lot of different animals going on there, but we've all been focusing on the rabbits. Yeah, very strange. Oh wait, no, what is this? What did I just do? I don't want a timer. What did I set? How did I do that? Okay, never mind, that was easy. So, basically, yeah, so this doctor's seeing all these animals come out of this human, and he's like, this might be a job for more of us. Like, I don't know if I can handle this one on my own. I don't know. Judging that doctor. So, Howard sent letters to some of England's greatest medical minds, and he informs them of this, they call them miraculous births. So, I mean, I guess if it were, we obviously at this point, I'm not spoiling anything. Obviously, she's not giving birth to any bunnies. But these miraculous births. So, King George was intrigued. Word got around. People were whispering about this woman popping out bunny rabbits. And so King George was like, yeah, okay. All right, here. Let's look into this. I'm assuming he probably wanted to capitalize on it in some way. So he sent 2 guys to investigate. Again, these poor schmucks. Nathaniel St. Andre. He's a Swiss surgeon and anatomist to the king. And I didn't know they had anatomists to the king. And Samuel Molyneux. I'm not French, but I'm guessing that's a pronunciation. And he was the secretary to the Prince of Wales. What he had to do with it, I have no idea. But they're sent to go check out what the deal is with this bunny lady. So, wouldn't you have it, news is spreading, and Mary becomes some sort of local celebrity here. I guess that makes sense if people are hearing somebody's popping out bunny rabbits. So because of how popular she was getting, all that curiosity, they moved her, and they also moved her closer to Howard, the doctor, so he could keep like a closer eye on her. So then all the way in November, St. Andre and Molyneux arrive at Howard's home, and they're immediately greeted with the news that Mary was in labor again with her 15th rabbit. So at this point, she's given birth to 15 rabbits, and they just happen to be there when she goes into labor. And apparently, she went on to birth several more dead rabbits while they were there. So yeah, they're sitting there like, what the heck is going on? They're seeing it with their own eyes. This young woman birthing rabbits. Obviously, though, none of them are surviving. Yes, this is like, the more I talk about this, the more I'm like, is this too weird? This might be too weird. But I'm fascinated. So, I don't want to speed too quickly through this because I feel like I need to give people processing time. But I love all the little cartoons that we're getting too. I found like a lot of different images from like newspapers and like illustrations from, like, apparently this whole story got turned into different like stage plays and everything. So people were like really eating it up. Yeah, it gets weird. It gets weirder. So doctors like checked out the rabbits and everything. And they're like examining their lungs and the other organs, and they're kind of figuring out this probably didn't develop inside Mary's womb. Shocker, I know. They're piecing things together. Don't mind you, these are the best doctors in all of England, so they're onto something. But Saint Andre, he was like, no. I trust this girl. There's something about her. This seems legit. This seems legit to me. So he is believing that these are indeed supernatural births. Because, again, that was the science back then. You have heard of this before? Of birthing bunny rabbits? Where are you hearing about this on the street? What conversations are you in? I have never in my life heard of this. Or are you talking about maternal impression? Because, yeah, I'm getting into that. I didn't really hear about that either, though. So that was fascinating to me. So yeah, he sends the bunny rabbits back, and so the idea in a nutshell someone did say after I posted this that this was on some kind of podcast or show or something, but I had never heard it. So I guess I'm just copycatting, but I didn't know. Not enough rabbit stories out there for people to cover. Yeah, I need to know what sites you're on, but I'm also scared to go on your sites because the last time you suggested something to me, we were talking about the dark web and you're going to get me banned. So I don't know if I'm taking your advice anymore. So, but basically what he believed, and I'm going to get into this a little bit, like the specifics later. In a nutshell, he believed that she was startled by a rabbit while she was pregnant, and that's why she was giving birth to baby bunnies. So, I mean, that's the science of the day. Top-notch education, 1700s. You get scared by a bunny, you're going to pop some out yourself. So just when you're walking in the forest, keep your eyes closed. Keep yourself hidden from anything that could frighten you because that's what you will be birthing. So the theory is called maternal impression. And that, in a nutshell, according to Britannica, is that it's the idea that maternal thoughts during pregnancy care are transmitted directly to the developing fetus which results in like different congenital disorders at birth, which to me is a horrifying thought because I've never been pregnant, but can you imagine just like whatever sick, weird thoughts going in your hormonal brain are just like becoming what you birth out? I already have weird thoughts when I'm not strangely hormonal. I don't want that to transfer to whatever demon I like crap out of me. That's like, yeah, women thinking bad. You know what? That's what it is. It goes back to being like, women, if you think too hard, you're going to taint your baby. So why don't you just have no thoughts and let the men do the thinking for you? That's what it is. They just were trying to trick the women into not thinking and just going about your life. I've never had a baby, and neither have you, so you wouldn't know if you crap them out or not. I'm not going to take your advice about where babies come from. I knew this was going to get weird. I didn't know it was going to get this weird this early. This is great. I'm enjoying it. So, obviously, seeing all of that, they're all arguing. They need more opinions, okay? Is it that she's faking it? Or is it that she got spooked by a bunny and now she's popping him out? So, as the story of Mary Toft quickly spread through London, the king decided to send German surgeon. I don't know his name. I am German myself, but I do not know how to say psoriasis instead of psoriasis. That's what I'm going to say it is. Wait, hold on. I am pausing just to look at chat here because Sarah, I only read the first couple sentences here and I am loving where you're going with it. You could totally give birth to a Bigfoot baby if you think about Bigfoot a lot. Imagine the cash cow that would be. Yes, use that to your advantage. Why were they never like then sitting there thinking of like, wealthy, I'm going to give birth to a prince, or I don't know. Could you do that if you really wanted a puppy instead? Just really think hard. Like, I want a puppy. I don't know if I'd want to give birth to Bigfoot, though. Like, that seems like a too large of a project to sign on for. You know? I've got a 5-foot frame. I don't need Bigfoot walking around inside of me. So, they call in more doctors, and they get this psoriasis guy. I'm just calling him psoriasis now. And his friend, Mr. Brand, they never gave him a first name, so just Mr. Brand, to investigate. They're going to dig in. So it starts with one doctor. He calls in more doctors. Those doctors couldn't agree, so those doctors are calling in more doctors. And so psoriasis is examining Mary, and he witnesses even more rabbit births, but he's not convinced. And I do also want to bring up the point that she's giving birth multiple times, months apart, like over a span of months. And this isn't confusing to them either. Like, it's not like one big birth. Like, oh, she was pregnant and they did mess with her mind, and so instead of a baby, she's birthing rabbits. All of a sudden, she's like, every month popping out bunnies. Like, is that part is like the most strange to me. Like, it just keeps happening, and they're like, oh yeah, this is normal. Very bizarre. So, yeah, this guy's not convinced. So, he's looking at the rabbit parts, and he's taking him back to London, and he's kind of like looking. One of the rabbits they put it as dung pellets, so I'm going to stick with that because it seems a little bit less crude. Yeah, they see the dung pellets, and one of the rabbits contained corn and hay and straw. And so that's not really available generally in a woman's womb. Just from my experience, I guess I haven't checked that out. I don't know what is inside there, but I do not believe that hay and straw, at the very least, are anywhere in there. So they're saying this proves this rabbit did not develop inside Mary. So this guy reports back to the king, and he's like, nah, something's not adding up. She's trying to pull a fast one on all of us. And they actually accused the original doctor, John Howard, of collusion with Mary Toft. And they showed the rabbit specimens as this evidence. Straw works great as an IUD. I don't want to think about that. Can you all hear me too? I just noticed my microphone is hiding I'm going to mute it so you can't hear it. It's hiding behind my 2 monitors. Why'd you guys not tell me this? Okay, I'm back. I really don't know if that made much of a difference, but I moved it, and it makes me feel better. So, there we go. They're saying it's a hoax. But they still need more opinions. That's not conclusive. So, Sir Richard Manningham, a doctor and... I just love that name, by the way, Manningham. A doctor and a midwife. He was among the upper class society in London. He was contacted by St. Andre because, like, all these doctors keep saying, this is a hoax, it's a hoax. And Andre's the one who, like, doubled down. He's like, no, she stared at that stupid rabbit, and now she's popping out rabbits. This is the hill I am dying on. So Andre contacts this other doctor and has him check it out. So he's looking at her. He sees her give birth again for like the millionth time. And he sees like what they think is like a hog's bladder. He's not convinced either. He's like, yeah, this is weird. This isn't right. This isn't normal. This is the bunny hill that he's going to die on. Because they keep hearing it's more fraud. And so Howard and St. Andre are like, look, dude, I know you think it's fake, but can you not say anything until we find, like, undeniable proof that she's faking it? Because, like, we keep standing up for this girl, and, like, I don't want to be embarrassed. So can you just keep that on the hush-hush? So that's what he does. He keeps his mouth shut. They move Mary to, when I looked it up, I guess it's like a bathhouse. I don't know. They move her there, and, like, even more, like, she turns into this, like, it feels like some kind of conference, and she's just there in this bathhouse, and, like, a ton of doctors come, and they're just, like, poking at her and, like, looking and waiting to see more of these births. And basically, they're all looking, and they kind of conclude the same thing. This is fake. This is fake. I call a hoax. Fake news, you know? So that's kind of what's happening. Andre and Howard, they start a-sweating. And this is obviously where things really start to spiral here. So, between November 30th and December 3rd, and again, this initial bunny birth took place in September, so this is like a couple months period, which, whatever. Opinion was actually kind of divided by the men gathered there. Mostly everyone thinks it's a hoax, but some, believe in magic. So Mary starts running dry, basically. She's not popping out any new bunnies, but she continues to, like, appear to go into labor, which is odd. She also was badly infected, which I would have... Well, we'll get into that, I guess. It's real gross. We won't get into that. That's too gross. But she started to have, like, these fits, they called them, and she would, like, lose consciousness, so it seemed like she was probably infected pretty badly, and that's what happens. If you get an infection, it's not taken care of, weird stuff happens. So later, a porter, I don't know what a porter is. I didn't look it up. I didn't have the time. But I'm assuming it's some kind of, like, busboy, bellboy, something like that. Dang it, you figured out her plan. I'm sure that was probably very easy to figure out her plan. But yes. That's kind of what I was inching toward. So... The guy at the bathhouse was caught trying to sneak a rabbit into Mary's room, so it's pretty obvious what was going on. So he finally confessed, I don't think they had to push him too hard, that Margaret Toff, which was Mary's sister-in-law, had asked him to bring the smallest rabbit he could find. So he didn't ask questions, he just he did it. Oh, Grandma, you're coming at the worst time! You're coming in at the weirdest time. But I'll do TLDR. You don't know what that means. I'll do a quick catch 'em up for you. Basically, this girl Mary, she starts giving birth to bunnies, and she's convincing everybody that this just keeps happening. People are getting skeptical. More doctors are checking it out. They're saying this is a hoax, but 2 doctors believe her, and they think that she was startled when she was pregnant by a bunny and kept thinking about it, and that's why she started birthing bunnies. Well, just now, catching up, there's like a ton of doctors watching her at this point in this bathhouse, And they catch this guy at the bathhouse sneaking in a rabbit to her room. So at this point, they're kind of like, okay, it's definitely a hoax. So he confessed that they told him to bring this bunny in there. This grandma is our grandma now. Yeah, my grandma's just community grandmother. That is fine with me. Judy patootie. I'm so sorry, Grandma. So I really feel like he probably just gave it up right away because he has no, like, I have no relationship with these women. I'm sure they couldn't pay him very much. They unfortunately were not too financially gifted. That's like a weird way to put it. They were poor. They didn't have much money. So, yes, we're learning it was a hoax, grandmother. But I'm sorry. So basically the doctors were hoping that Mary would incriminate herself, and like very shortly after she went into labor, and once again she started producing nothing. So that night they called the justice of the peace to come basically call her out. So the porter, his name the porter and Thomas Howard swore a deposition, and Mary was immediately taken into custody for questioning. But she was like lying and denying. She was holding firm. She's like, no. You saw those bunnies come out of me. I gave birth to these bunnies. There's no funny business going on. Something crazy is happening to me, and I just want someone to help me figure it out. So they really, over the next 2 days, pump the gas. Like, they were really laying on that pressure to try and get her to confess. And Mary was holding strong for days until our boy Sir Richard Manningham, one of the doctors, threatened to perform painful experimental surgery on her to, quote, I guess it was the 1700s, to, quote, see if she was formed differently from other women. I don't even want to know what the surgery entailed. I know that sounds absolutely horrifying, especially, again, 1700s medical devices. She could have gotten away with it if she had just stopped after a certain point. Yes! Why did she have to keep going and going and going? Like the Energizer Bunny. Now I get it. It all makes sense. So, the horrific confession. This is where, grandmother, I feel like you need to put the earmuffs on. So she was forced to admit on December 7th that she had manually inserted the dead rabbits into her body in a certain way. I'm trying to be not very crude, and allowed them to be removed as if she was giving birth. So they were providing her with these dead animals, and she was doing her thing, and then they were removed. She pretended she was birthing them. So in different confessions, like, she couldn't get her story straight, though, exactly on who she was gonna, like, drag down with her. She implicated, like, a mysterious stranger was helping her, and then the wife of the organ grinder, which I believe that's, like, where they were getting the weird bunny rabbits from. Yeah, I'm sorry, I gotta be careful. I don't want to just say, I don't want to be crude about it now. It's too early. It's too early in the evening to go down that rabbit hole. Grandma. You can say it if you want, Grandma. I'm going to be professional here. So, she's blaming everybody, the mother-in-law and even the doctor, which they already were, like, suspecting him. So it was kind of rude of her. I don't know. I doubt he was. I think this was all her planning. I think I'm hoping the doctor is too smart to try and go along with this. Oh, no, Justin, come on. Get out of here. So then 2 days later, Mary was charged with, I love this charge, by the way. This one was killing me. Being a notorious and vile cheat. I believe if that were a cause for jail now, we'd have a lot of people with that charge attached to their name. You know, we're talking about my ex-boyfriend, am I right? Oh, God. I'll stop now. Okay. So she was charged with being a vile cheat And she was sent to prison where she allegedly was exhibited to large, curious crowds by her warders. So she then continued to be a freak show, which was basically her ultimate goal, even in prison. So the wardens were like getting in on this action, and people were coming to see her. At this point, though, I don't get what's to see. Just see what she looks like, because she's not popping out any more bunnies. Like, they're just popping, oh, that's Mary. She's the one who put bunnies inside of her and then had someone pull it out. Like, I do not understand the allure there. She probably did have a prison. She was famous. Like, well, she did, because she went to obscurity for a while and then she started popping back up. So I'm assuming she did have some pen pals going on there. So look at how sad he is. This is our boy Saint Andre. He's so sad. He looks so dumb. There's something about Mary. Yeah, there's something, all right. She's something. Poor St. Andre. So, this is actually really funny. So, she confessed, and it's real awkward because just 4 days prior, boy Andre published a 40-page paper, basically, called A Short Narrative on an Extraordinary Delivery of Rabbits, in which he gives a detailed and just non-critical, skeptical account of the event. So he publishes this, and then she, 4 days later, admits that she was faking. Like, you'd think that, like, couldn't she, like, hold out for just, like, a little bit? How many buddies for cigarettes? What's the exchange rate on that? Good question. Well, all the rabbits are dead. So, I mean, are they worth that much at that point? I don't know. She's not popping them out anymore anyway. It doesn't even work. She doesn't have access to more bunnies to keep up the illusion in jail. So, here's where, okay, this is, to me, is kind of funny too. So, St. Andre, is it St. Andre? Yeah. So, I kind of feel bad, because I do think this poor 1700s dum-dum believed in this theory. So, in his pamphlet, he describes what he believes and how Mary described the events. So, apparently back in April, she had been working in a field and was startled by a rabbit. She and another woman ran after it, and they couldn't catch up with this rabbit. So, they couldn't catch another rabbit. They kept chasing rabbits and they couldn't catch them. I don't know. So the quote was, that same night she dreamt she was in a field with those 2 rabbits in her lap and awakened with a sick fit, which lasted till morning. From that time, for about 3 months, she had a constant and strong desire to eat rabbits, but being very poor and indignant, she could not procure any. So that's the maternal impression. She chased a rabbit, couldn't catch it, thought about it, wanted to eat some bunnies, bada bing, bada boom. She births like 20 of them. It makes sense if you don't think about it. Actually, if you can follow the logic, but you can't think about it too hard. Oh, Grandma, you're leaving already? Oh, I'm cutting off. No, fix your internet, Granny. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for trying. Thanks for being nice to my grandma, everybody. My internet's going out. It looks fine on my end. Gosh darn it. I have it hooked up to the Ethernet and everything. If Tony lied to me, so help me God. Hold on. Let me move it to my big webcam. I do see that it's cutting out. I don't know why it's being crappy. This is stupid. Okay. We want to say goodbye to my grandma. Okay, I'm going to do a BRB screen right now because I just want to double check that it's all plugged in. Because maybe I didn't plug the Ethernet in on my end. Hold on. don't know. We're just going to keep going. We'll see if it fixes itself. Let me see. If she needed money so bad, she could have took the show on the road. Yeah, see, well, that's, I think, her plan. Like, we get into that in a second. Yeah. So, well, yeah, basically, they think she's, like, trying to get famous. But, yeah, instead of just doing that, she probably should have just bopped around and, but I guess none of them were live. I wonder if she ever, no, that would be wild. I was going to say, I wonder if she ever tried to birth a live animal. But that's horrifying. I shouldn't even think about that. I regret having that fluttering thought in my head. So, okay, St. Andre, because he was, like, humiliating. He had to, like, he took out this ad in the paper to kind of save himself. He tried. It didn't really work, but basically, like, everyone in the medical field at that point got dragged down with them. People were like, God, these idiots. Like, they really got tricked by this, like, dumb woman. So, like, I keep trying to read this because the English was so different then. I guess, like, all the F's, I think, are S's. So, like, having contributed in some measure to the belief of an imposter in a narrative lately published by me, an extraordinary, like, he says this thing. He's like, I'm now thoroughly convinced it is an abominable fraud. And, like, he just kind of says, I hope will some measure execute the mistakes made by my gosh darn it, who visited the woman therein and will also be acceptable to the world and the separating blah 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 blah. So basically he just apologizes and he's like, I don't believe it's true now. I'm sorry. I guess. I don't know. Kind of hard to read. But doctors responded, like, they said that they were all worried. Like, doctors were worried that it was, like, having a bad look on the profession, and it really did. So, here's how everybody ended up. Man, I really am wrapping this up kind of early. Well, not really. St. Andre lost favor with the court, and his reputation dropped, which, duh. He retired from London, and he died in poverty. So that's real sad. I felt bad for him. John Howard, the initial doctor, he had to answer to charges concerned in the cheat and conspiracy of Mary Tuft, but the case was dropped, and I always wonder how this works out. Like, St. Andre, I think it's because he wrote the pamphlet. If St. Andre would have just kept his, like, trap shut and not tried to, like, make money off of this, capitalize off of it, he probably would have ended up like Howard and just, like, went on with his life. Like, people would have said, ha, well, you idiot, and then, like, a year later, because there's no internet, people would be like, oh, yeah, I forget. But Andre wrote his stupid pamphlet and then had to take out that pathetic ad, and so, nobody trusts him anymore. Like, oh, aren't you the dude who wrote a whole paper about that lady with the rabbits, and it turned out not to be true? You're dumb. So, yeah, it's just, he went into poverty, and he should have just kept his mouth shut. Now, Mary really, to me, I think this all worked out well for Mary. The case against her was dismissed, right? And so, it's like, they're saying it's not because they didn't have enough proof. They obviously had proof that she wasn't actually popping out these bunnies, but they were worried that if they kept the trial going, it would just cause more embarrassment to the medical profession, so they're like, we're just gonna pretend this didn't happen. She did spend a few months in jail, and returned to the relative obscurity, but she kind of pops up again. Like, people forget, and then people come back. So, why did she do it? Like we were saying before, basically, deformed people had been exhibited, like, freak shows. Like, people were paying to go to these freak shows for a while now, all over Europe for hundreds of years. It's been a whole thing, and she kind of, like, came up, not that dumb of a plan at that time, since people had no idea about anything. So she knew that these were popular. People were going to see these. They were paying money. So what's funny is, I mean, while the hoax itself didn't work out, she kind of did become, like, a traveling freak show on her own. People still, like I said, the wardens, when she was in jail, were, like, having people come check her out. And, like, the Duke of Richmond, who lived near, like, one of the places they had her staying, showed her off at dinner parties. And, like, because she was a curiosity for him. Like, could you imagine being a human, like a show and tell object? But obviously she wasn't caring. She was poor and getting to be a guest at dinner parties, at these fancy dinner parties. I'd do it too. Be like, yeah. Like, can you imagine those conversations, though? I'm so intrigued by that. It's like, are you the girl who shoved the rabbits up you know? She's like, yeah, that was me. Did about 20 of them. I wonder if she had any neat party tricks. Lock up your pets. I'm sorry. So, in April 1740, Mary was back in trouble with the law. She was charged with receiving stolen goods and was committed to jail, basically corrections, but was later acquitted. How does she keep getting, like, out? She must be a really sympathetic, like, person, you know, because I feel like she keeps convincing people. I don't know, she must have a certain personality type. Yeah. Not very saintly at all. So yeah, she died on January 13th, 1763. I don't know how old that makes her. I don't know what year she was born. But what's interesting is, yeah, the London papers, they had her obituary, like, alongside, like, noble people, like statesmen and people of, like, prominence. So she paved her way. I mean, at that point, if you're going to commit to the bit so hard, I don't know. Good for her. I said it before, I'll say it again. You gotta respect the hustle. At a certain point. You gotta respect the hustle. So, that's really the story here. I know I went through kind of quickish. Man, I guess it's been nearly an hour. 45 minutes. Yeah, hide your kids, hide your pets. But that's the story of Mary Toft. Of the Toft's ice cream. I'm just kidding. I feel bad if it actually is. Maybe they came to prominence because of Mary's prominence. They went on to make ice cream. But that is, now I'm just rambling. What does everyone think the 2021 version of this story would be? Ooh, I like that game. 2021 version of this story. So they gotta convince world leaders that I would say maybe that they gave birth to an alien. That would be on par, like the ridiculousness. Like, okay, yeah, they were one of the people. Well, no, because they know all the UFO stuff. They got all the books. They got all the info. Maybe it is a Bigfoot thing. Convincing Bigfoot is real. And you've got baby Bigfoot.